Everybody and welcome to Round Reviews here with part 2 for my test disc review for Fairwind's upcoming release on the 25th of May 2026 for Transcending Dimensions, with the bonus disc and film we're talking about today, which is The Blood of a Reborn, released in 2009, directed by Toshiaki Toyoda, which is a director that I've been really want to check out for quite some time. As mentioned in my previous review for the Fairwind release, very similar kind of themes and ideas, something that I think will be a through line in terms of his kind of experimental, kind of artistic, kind of art house, dreamlike kind of ideas, surreal. I do have the initial box set release from Fairwind Films quite some time ago, which just feature Hanging Gardens and The Flash, and a bunch of short films included as well. So I gotta say, after watching Blood of the Reborn and Transitioning Dimensions, and the short films included, he's definitely is going through something in terms of a spiritual awakening, a sense of belonging, a sense of kind of a sense of value, a sense of discovery, self-worth, and touching upon some really interesting ideas in terms of a character study piece, while also capturing the landscape of modern Japanese locations, but also flipping them within this kind of old-fashioned kind of 15th century old kind of samurai kind of age of period of Japanese cinema. And it's interesting to kind of see his kind of viewpoint. Very similar to the previous review I talked about, this one does require a secondary viewing because Blood of the Reborn is quite a trip to go down to. Very kind of modern score-based work, but set within the 15th century kind of samurai kind of age. Tells a story, to put simply, as a healer, someone who is basically come to this kind of slavery kind of ring, and the leader of this kind of like little group is having serious pains. He's got diseases and he's trying to find ways to kind of cure his pains and illnesses, and he has this kind of, you know, meditator, this kind of healer comes in, helps him briefly, and basically wants him to stay for a long period of time. He refuses. Through this rejection, he basically sets him up to drink this kind of poison and then beheads him while at a campfire kind of, you know, setting. And he awakens in this kind of, you know, transitional kind of, you know, road he has to take between heaven and hell. And you got this guy who is basically munching on this kind of watermelon kind of fruit, you know, while talking, you know, in terms of what happened to him and his kind of next path in life now, in terms of you go to hell, you go to heaven, you can choose. I don't really mind. And the interpretation that Earth is so bad and such a worse a place than hell is that it's so casual. When you do die, you can cross into the next life. And I like the fact he basically says, no, I want to go back, I have unfinished business, and basically we can send you back, or you will be a hungry ghost. You will live out those days as a spectre, as a ghost, an entity of some kind. And I like the fact when he does go back to Earth, he's kind of in a holden state where he's kind of like in the last position he was in the other realm, and held by various kind of people in the film. Eventually, the woman that he kind of befriends and likes within that kind of slave labor camp also just assist him and help him, and he basically wants to seek revenge for what happened to him. And from that point onwards, we get a series of kind of dreamlike, artistic, very unconventional type of framing, but told in a very kind of simplistic kind of storytelling of a man who was wronged, who came back from hell and heaven, and basically seeking revenge. So a very simple story for an hour and 22 minutes. And that is exactly what the film goes along. There is some unconventional kind of beats in that, as the film just takes some detours and basically wants to have this very kind of like spiritualistic kind of idea of what it means to be human and what is the cost of revenge. And if you like Transitioning Dimensions, I think you'll enjoy this film as well. I think if you've seen over his previous films, there might be a through line here that I'm not seeing in its entirety. But in terms of this edition on Fairwind Films, with the two films, the short film and the special features, all covering around these ideas and what happened to him in terms of real life, being kind of blacklisted from Japan, he's come back in a very different way. And I think he's telling very unconventional stories. He's telling very artistic based kind of visions of these characters and doing something quite bold and quite unique with the material that he's been kind of presenting, with actors that are giving great performances, some very kind of modern punkish type music, unconventional kind of scoring. I definitely think Fairwind Films done a great job in terms of this edition and giving fans, again, more of that director's kind of, you know, filmography out there in terms of the West. As mentioned before, we do get an 18-minute kind of director's kind of interview talking about both of these films and his experience with Japan cinema and what kind of artistic kind of endeavors he's been doing. It's a very insightful extra, and I definitely would recommend checking it out alongside the audio commentary he does for Transitional Dimensions. That's been my thoughts and impressions on Blood of the Reborn and this edition as well from Fairwinder Films. What are your thoughts, guys? What do you think of this director? Please comment down below. So in time, guys, down for reviews. Signing out.